Good evening, beautiful people of planet Earth. It's 6:36 p.m. Still on the 30th of March 2025. So, I've decided to continue on reading from the angel stories. I'm not sure why. Guess I'm a bit lonely and a bit bored, and I could be reading a book, or could have gone for a walk, or I could have phoned someone. But I decided to spend the evening reading about angels instead. So it's a bit odd, but it is what it is, so I'm going with it. And hopefully we won't get into any heavy trauma spaces like we did in the earlier video today. And we just sail through and have a nice time together. You and me, YouTube audience and subscribers and whatever other interdimensional entities stumble across these videos. You and me, babies. So I'm reading from True Tales of Angel Encounters by Carmel Riley, and we're up to a very short chapter on everyday angels. Excuse me. It was fascinating to discover how many people encounter angels on a daily basis. I'm just going to move my tea across right-handed and make it a bit easier on myself to reach for, I think. So just decided, just as I started reading it, that suddenly became important. Mama T's world is a bit like that. Right, we continue reading. Perhaps these are people who are so open to the spiritual world that they can easily perceive the angels around us. Or perhaps, having once met an angel, it becomes easier to detect the signs and clues that are an indication of an angelic presence. This might mean that people have had a more dramatic encounter with an angel, such as an intervention in a crisis or a near-death experience, then go on to have everyday meetings with angels. Had quite a few in my lifetime, although not all of them were seen with my visible eyes, but I knew they were there because I was saved in miraculous ways. And I can't say I have everyday meetings with angels, but I have supernatural events that happen, occasionally, and then I know that I'm still being guided and protected and nurtured and nourished and dragged along, sometimes by the scruff of my own neck, by my angels. And it's a bit astonishing. It's an astonishing thing to know that you're kind of chosen in that sense, that you're not allowed to get out of this life easily or by your own free will even, that you just kicked back and kicked back and kicked back, and whatever it is. But my beautiful life, as I said earlier, is here now. I just need to continue believing and receiving and trusting in my angels that they're choosing the right circumstances and the right people to be my tribe and my family, and even choosing my, if it's destined to be, actually, I still don't know for sure, even choosing my future partner, life partner. Anyway, continue with the story. Unlike the accounts in the previous chapter, In the following stories, the presence of angel is not something that happens in times of great stress or emotion. Rather, it's a simple yet profound reassurance that we are not alone in this world. Peter, 32, Dublin, Ireland. My mother was an extraordinary woman. She raised 6 of us by herself, and it can't have been easy as we were little terrors. But she was always laughing and happy, and even though she never had a minute to rest, it never seemed to wear her down. She used to tell me stories about angels and how they looked after us. I even saw angels a few times. My mother would be washing the dishes, and the angel would be sitting at the kitchen table watching her. But then if I blinked and looked again, she would be gone. She was a woman about my mother's age, tall, with a nice face. Sometimes I would come down in the night for a glass of water when I couldn't sleep, and there would often be 2 angels sitting in the front room. They didn't look up when I came through, but again they would disappear if I tried to look straight at them. Whenever I think of my mother, I think of the chaos of that house, of children everywhere running around shouting, of my mother laughing and carrying piles of clothes, and of the angels sitting calmly, watching everything. What a delightful childhood he had, actually. Sarah, Georgia, USA. I'm convinced I saw an angel once. It was at Christmas, and I would have been about 7 years old. I always loved our Christmas tree. We could never afford a real one, but we had a silver artificial one covered with an assortment of really gaudy baubles that had been in the family for years. One night I crept downstairs just to look at the tree, and as I turned to look at it, I saw an angel standing next to it, facing it. The angel had huge wings and was nearly as tall as the tree. I still remember that moment, although I have no idea what it meant. I wasn't frightened, more awestruck really. It was as if I was given confirmation that Christmas, that angels really do exist. That experience and knowledge has stayed with me all my life. Gina, 36, Melbourne, Australia. When I'm cleaning the house or out shopping or doing some silly household thing, I often think about my 3 children at school. I've always had a slightly panicky feeling about them being away from me. Ever since the first day I had to say goodbye to them at the school gates. I worry about what they are doing and if they are safe. Then I see this figure in my mind, a woman who smiles at me and shakes her head like she's saying, "What are you worrying about? Come on, Gina, they're fine." I've always thought that, even though I worry, there is a guardian angel watching over them. Helena, 25, Birmingham, England. Should pronounce that Birmingham. I think Ozzy Osbourne came from there, didn't he? Birmingham. Anyway, I've always seen angels since I was a child. I used to imagine this being pronounced in a Birmingham accent. I can't do it, but it just, my mischief, fun side of me came out. There's nothing wrong with a Birmingham accent, by the way. Just anyway, off I go on one of my little dances through my mind. All I can think of now is Ozzy Osbourne, Sharon Osbourne. Oh, well, anyway. I've always seen angels since I was a child. I used to see my guardian angel in the night standing in the corner of my room or at the bottom of the bed looking at me. She is tall with a kind face. She doesn't have wings or anything like that. She's just a normal looking woman but with a very wise expression. I wonder if all of these spirits they're seeing are actually angels or actual ancestors watching over them, like a grandmother or great-great-grandmother. You might not recognise them because they might be from further back in the past, but often it's, your guardian angel isn't necessarily always an angel. Just saying, just had to throw that in there. I was reviewing my video from earlier when I spoke about the evil of David Davidson. It was pretty, by and large, evil to me. I'm not lying or exaggerating. I heard something fall somewhere in the rest of the house. It's a little bit of poltergeist activity today. Anyhow, I went looking for what fell, couldn't find anything. Sounded like something light, papery or cardboardy, but couldn't find it. So it was a bit odd, people of Earth. But, like I said, today's been very spiritually innovative, what we've seen, the fairies and the golden light this morning. The faces, I mean, of the fae and the spirits and the light. Anyway, continue reading. She's just a normal looking woman but with a very wise expression. When I was very small it used to scare me and I'd shout for my parents, but as I got older I got used to it. I mentioned it to my parents once or twice, and they either laughed or looked a bit concerned about it, as though I was mad. So I realised it was something you didn't really talk about, which was wrong of the parents to react like that actually, but as I say, unbelievers can be very destructive and damaging to a child who's got gifts. Even though my parents were believers and did foster that, they were destructive and damaging anyway, so can't lose one, people of Earth. It is what it is. In my teens, I read everything I could about angels, and I realised that lots of people see their guardian angels, but not everyone. I'm not sure why. Maybe it depends on whether or not you want to see them. I haven't been in any life-threatening situations, so it's hard to say if my angel has ever helped me. Who knows what might have happened? I've seen other angels a few times. At school I used to see them standing behind children or walking along the corridor, and I used to see my mother's when she was ill, although I couldn't see its face. It was a white glow in the room, rather than a visible person. I don't believe that you can talk to angels, unless they really need to, but I smile at mine when I see her, and she smiles back, so I know she is there if I need her. I see no reason why you can't talk to your angel as long as you're respectful like you would be to anyone that's a superior intelligence and higher spiritual evolution than yourself. Rachel. I hear laughter rolling in the background. Just not actual laughter, but the energy of laughter, how it rolls through a room. Well, they know me. I'm a communicator. I speak to them. They may not always speak back, but I speak to them with respect, although sometimes they're probably laughing because there's times when I'm not respectful and I blaspheme and throw epic tantrums at God about the life He gifted me and how difficult it's been and why I've needed so many angels. It's probably what they're really laughing at because they know me. They know me better than I know myself. Let's not be, vainglorious or deluded here. They know me. They're very powerful and very loving and keep me company when I'm lonely sometimes. Not always in an obvious way. I can feel quite alone and quite distraught at times, and all of a sudden it just kind of uplifts and I feel almost high and nurtured and protected. It's odd, but that's when I know that I've got someone with me saying, come on, Chook, let's kick you along. You're doing fine. You can handle this life. And they lift my spirits or show me wonderful signs like the golden light from this morning. I'm wondering why that, well, partly it's because the sun was shining this morning, but, I got woken up with that very depressing song about being killed softly by a song and about unrequited love or love gone wrong. I just rolled over and went back to sleep after writing about it because it is what it is, people of Earth. It's not something that's under my control. I just have to accept things the way they are. And this morning I was gifted all this loveliness, and so you see it's my angels saying, don't worry, Tanya, be happy, you are loved. Rachel, Adelaide, Australia. I saw angels in my bedroom when I was 5 years old. They were standing above my bed, looking down on me with these beautiful faces and really kind smiles. They had the most loving, peaceful faces that I have ever seen. The whole room felt bathed in glowing white light, and I will never forget how happy I felt at that moment. My mum had just remarried, so it was the start of a new period in all of our lives. Suddenly I felt okay about everything. I knew we were all going to be very happy. I've never seen angels since, but I do know that they are there looking out for me, and that's a nice feeling. Sweet. Calvin, 38. They didn't give Rachel's age. Maybe Rachel didn't want to give her age. But anyway, Calvin, 38, Auckland, New Zealand. We are always in the company of angels. I knew this from an early age. So did I. Even as a baby, I used to freak my parents out by smiling over their shoulders at someone standing behind them, and they would turn their heads and they couldn't see anyone. But they said my whole face would light up with recognition. I kind of had this glow about me. And so I don't actually remember because I was a baby at the time, very young baby, but obviously I was still seeing the angels that were fully cognizant that they'd cast me into an evil, fucking, rotten family and that I was going to need a lot of support actually, even then. So they kind of did a number on me, but they're laughing. But I accepted it. I accepted this mission coming to this planet in this form I've acquired with age, and I accepted it as a baby, and I've accepted the love and support that's been gifted me along the way, because it was crucial to my survival actually. My angels just said quietly, "Blessed be." Because they know I know. I could not have reached almost 60 years of age if it were not for them and their interventions and protections and support in bringing good, kind people into my life in times when I was destitute, barely able to feed myself and my children. We were always angels. Always. I knew this from an early age, but it is only as I've gotten older that I have learned how to see them. I prayed for a long time to meet angels, and I have always spoken to my guardian angel in my head, although he doesn't speak back. I know that someone has been looking after me, and when I've been in dangerous situations in life, it has always worked out fine. Last year I had a terrible bout of food poisoning, which made me sick for several days, but always there was a voice at the back of my mind telling me that I would be all right, and that's how it turned out. After that, I read more about angels and started to look for them around me as I walk around, and I've discovered that they are visible sometimes. You can be walking along and catch sight of one out of the corner of your eye, but if you look more closely, it will be gone. They are often in white or pale clothes, and they walk the city streets the same as us, but they don't necessarily want you to see them. Beyond that, you can actually see their outlines in the air occasionally. Yes, I've seen that. Almost kind of a shimmering mirage in the atmosphere, like a chalk outline, kind of. Yes, I have seen that. If you stand outside in a busy place, like in the centre of town, and stay very still, looking around you intently, you can start to see outlines in the air. It's as though there is a transparent liquid or jelly shape in the air, but the light distorts slightly through it so you can catch the outlines and shapes. Often they'll be walking next to people, especially young children, so it is good to look into the spaces near people and try to look so that you can see sky behind them, because the light of the sky makes them easier to spot. I told my friend about this, and he tried it and found that he could see them too. However, he found it rather alarming, as it made him feel that there are forces at work that are beyond, his comprehension. On the contrary, I feel reassured to know that they are there. It feels as though they don't need to be seen, but aren't so concerned as to completely disguise themselves. Why should they hide from those who have faith in them? They are here to help and protect us, and so many people have seen them already. Mona, 18, Perth, Australia. When I was a child, I used to go and hide in the cupboard under the stairs sometimes. This is when I was about 8 or 9. I would go there when I was feeling a bit down. Nothing terrible, just little moments when I wanted to be on my own. I'd go right to the back and sit in the dark. My parents never worked out that was where I went. It was a big old house and it was easy to disappear. Sometimes I would be able to hear them walking around, calling for me, and I'd stay quiet, then come out later when they weren't there to see. I get it. I used to speak to my angel when I was in there. I could hear her voice very clearly. I'd tell her what I'd been doing and about the little things that had upset me, and she'd tell me what she thought. She didn't really give me advice. She just listened and asked questions in a very kind and understanding way. I'd end up realising for myself when I was in the wrong about something or how I could make up with someone I'd fallen out with. The strange thing is that I thought nothing of it at the time. I'd grown up believing in God and the angels, and it seemed perfectly normal that when I had a problem, my angel would speak to me. I had a clear image of her face, as though I had seen her when I was younger. But now I only heard her in the cupboard. We moved house eventually, and there was nowhere like that where I could go and sit in the dark. So I didn't talk to my angel for a while. And then when I tried to talk to her, I couldn't hear her voice anymore. It just drifted away like that. I think it was something to do with age. At a certain age, it was very easy for me to talk to her. Later on, it became more conscious and difficult, and then it didn't come so easily. I didn't stop believing in angels. I just realised that they are there, but you can't always see them or talk to them. She's only 18, but I'd like to tell you, Mona, it comes back when you get older, in your 40s, or if you've been re-triggered by a serious trauma like a near death. It comes back, that ability to communicate with the angelic realm and the spirit world, and it's a bit frightening. Well, not frightening, but a bit confronting at first. You worry that you might have gone a bit bonkers. But then over time, you realise that when they consistently tell you the truth and their messaging is consistently accurate, because that's the test, people of Earth, that you can trust in them and that they're there for you and they're authentic and they're not letting you down, and you build a stronger relationship, and then you open up more and more to the spirit world, and it just blooms and emanates like that. People who are gifted as children think they lose their gifts, but when they're busy with study and being at school and university and working hard and stress of paying bills and worry, but if you give yourself the space to just sit quietly and pray or meditate or even daydream, if you have those abilities, it comes back to you. And I believe personally it's well worth nurturing too. Well worth nurturing. It's a comfort to me now I'm older and all alone, knowing that instead of reading stories to you, I could be sitting doing my trance drummings and talking to my angels or my spirit guides, and wow, it's a funny old world. Kate, Leicester, England. When I was at primary school, I used to love going for walks on my own if I was upset about anything. There was this lovely route that took me past fields of cows and buttercups, and walking by them always made me feel so much better. There's a place along the walk that we used to call Bluebell Wood, though it's really just a copse of trees with lovely flowers underneath. One day, after I had had a particularly miserable day involving sports, and also Mrs. Schofield, the French teacher, I decided to go along to Bluebell Wood on my own. As I got near, there seemed to be this lovely light coming out from the trees. It looked really beautiful. When I was under the trees, I looked up and saw 3 huge angels floating above. They were huge with great wings and had the sort of unearthly glow about them. As I looked at them, I could feel all the stresses of the day leave me, and I felt so happy and calm. It was a feeling of being able to cope with anything, really. Things seemed to work better for me at school after that, and I gradually became less of a worrier. Sarah, Connecticut, United States of America. I saw an angel on a beach once. It's sort of a strange place to see one. So I just feel the urge to check something again. Right. It's sort of a strange place to see one, I know, but I did. Not really. One of my favourite scenes from that movie, City of Angels, is the angels all lined up at dawn on the beach, all singing in praise of God, and all looking quite sinister actually, all wearing black trench coats, but it's one of my favourite scenes in a movie exhibiting angels, because I don't know, somehow my heart just resonated with it, watching the sun rise and singing to the Holy One. I think it was sunrise, or was it sunset? Don't remember now. I think it was the rising sun. Anyway. It was a summer evening, and we were just sitting watching the sunset when I suddenly heard something behind me. Thinking it must be a raccoon or something, I got up to look in the trees behind us. I always loved looking for animals. Anyway, I went a little way into the woods on my own and suddenly felt such a sense of peace. It was as if the woods were glowing with magical light. I looked up, and there in front of me was an angel. She smiled at me. I'm sure this angel was female. She had such a pretty face and long golden hair I have always felt really very special to have been blessed by an angel. Whenever I go through difficult times, I always think of that moment the angel smiled at me to give me strength and courage. Leonard, York, England. When my older brother and I were little, we used to play in the local graveyard. We would hide behind the tombstones or in bushes and make scary noises to whoever happened to be passing. Our favourite prank was to scare groups of girls or little old ladies. Soft targets, really. The girls would always giggle when they spotted us, but I think, looking back now, that we really did scare some of the old ladies. Maybe they thought we would rob them or something. Anyway, one cold winter afternoon, we hid behind the gravestones as usual when we saw an old lady walking toward us. When she was fairly near, we leapt out from our hiding place shouting, "Woo!" like we were ghosts or something. But when we jumped out, the old lady seemed to have vanished. We heard a noise behind us, and when we turned around, we saw this glowing gold angel type thing. We were terrified and ran across the path and into the next section of the graveyard. When we looked back, only the old lady was there, putting some flowers by one of the headstones. She turned and looked at us, giving us this weird smile, like she knew that we'd been frightened, and it served us right. We never went to play in that graveyard again. I don't know what it was we saw, or even if we really saw it, or just frightened ourselves, but it worked, because we never went back. I'm thinking perhaps one of the little old ladies they'd frightened probably went home and had a bloody heart attack, and that was the grave she was putting flowers on, and she thought, "I'll fix you, you little bastard, you'll never frighten an old lady again." And good on her, I might say. I hate kids that do things like that. It's just malicious. They don't look at it that way because they're kids and they just think they're being mischievous, but it can be really nasty to sneak up around frightening people all day long. It can be a real evil kind of thing. Anyway, the next story, which is the last one of this chapter, Everyday Angels, is Helena, 25, from Naples, Italy. I believe in angels. I've never actually seen one, but I have felt their presence. There's often a lovely smell when they're around, and you just know that a lovely, caring being surrounds you. There are times when I seek their advice about things. I just sit down, close my eyes, and concentrate on summoning my angels to help me. After a while, I feel this comforting presence. It's like someone who really loves you, putting their arms around you and giving you a hug. I always think of ways I can solve my problems at those moments. I think it's the angels helping me out, pointing me in the right direction, so to speak. It makes the world seem a much nicer place, knowing that we have angels to protect and guide us. Indeed. So the next chapter, which is quite long, but we're only 39 minutes in, so I think I can manage it. Probably be another 3-hour video though. I may have to split it in two because this one's a very long chapter. But anyway, healing angels. It seems clear that angels have the power to heal people. Why do they sometimes help us in illness and suffering, and sometimes not? It is impossible to say. The angels know things about our spiritual